Hey guys, it's me, so what ifs where I last left off is Deku essentially got approached by the leaders, quote unquote, of the House of Baron that remain. They essentially offer him the position of Kel, of House of Stags. Now he's still just standing there just like, and then the other two Kels are like, that really just happened. He's like, yeah. And Deku is just like, I don't think I'm worthy. They're like, you believe you're unworthy. We will not force this on you, but it is there if you want it. But then as he says, but I will choose one of you. Because also he has worked with the Baron, the few Barons that are there. And he speaks with them about how he would not go about doing it, but how he will choose them. So he goes through some of the ones he's worked with. I haven't talked about how much he's worked with them, but he has worked with them in the past. Quite a few of them, actually. And he decides to go with just one of the random ones, saying that he's fought with them and sees the care and how tactical and everything he has been. So he's like, you. I choose between the two of you. You can either split the realm of Kel and have each one follow, and have your people decide on who should be it. All of them, not just your barons and captains. All of them should have a say in it. So they're like, alright. And if you lose, so be it. And that's the end of that. As he, quickly walks on his ship, after recruiting, of course, from each of the houses, people, he's recruited, again, more dregs. Because Deku doesn't want to take the Vandals and such away from the houses, because Vandals are kind of more valuable than the dregs. But he can take them and mold them instead of veterans, I guess, of how the other, how the other captains, barons, and Kels run their way. They're gonna get the dregs to run their way, sort of thing, if you know what I mean. So he replenishes his numbers kind of quickly. And they all get undocked and everything. And this will go 3 months in the future. Deku has been doing more things. He's fully repaired the ships and everything. And I said his numbers were 600. Were maybe 700 Elixir under his command with all the ships and such. And before this, Toga's his crew's why didn't you take the chance? He's like, I ain't trying to rebuild the house. I merely serve and hold the house colors. Plus, they wouldn't operate how we would. He's like, he'd rather be more free moving than being confined to how a Kel is. Because how their Kel was situated is that he stayed and kept control over a lot of it, giving out orders since it was small enough, handing down orders. But he's like, I prefer it to be this small little thing. We understand. They all have their celebration. Deku again goes back to his trophy room, admires it, and that's the end of that. Now, Deku and his team hear about a rumor. Well, not a rumor, but they come in contact with some of the fallen from the House of Exile. Some of them discuss with the apparent deals that could be made. Deku thinks, what do you all think? Some of them say, I think, Dobby, and some of them say, I think they're kind of crazy. They went to the moon and fight the Hive and live amongst the Hive. They're crazy. Any business could possibly end very, very badly. And since there are no guardians on there as of yet, because the moon's Because if you don't know, after the great disaster that was referred to as when Guardians and such went to fight Crota, or they amassed like an army of like 1,000 or so Guardians, maybe more or less, they threw them at the moon. Battle went bad. And I mean very, very bad. As soon as they got there, if I remember, they like started doing well in the beginning. But then everything went to shit as soon as Crota appeared, because Crota, if you don't know, is a god amongst the Hive. He's the son of Oryx, who is essentially a god, another god amongst the Hive. Crota's essentially a god as well. So, taking account of that, and the Guardians just essentially threw themselves at the moon. So, yeah. As I digress. Deku sort of works out some deals that the House of Exile is looking for some weapons and ether supplies and such. Now, ether is very, very valuable, and like, it's believed that the not the Kells, but the Fallen of House of Exile don't have Kells or anything. It is believed that they are the ones seeking freedom. They are just like the lowest rungs, and just they're the lowest of the low that gathered in the House of Exile. So that can mean from anything from being like just crazy, or they wanting freedom. So it's more or less to say that they aren't really a house, they're just more or less a gang, like a group of people of Fallen trying to survive. And by banding together, that's the best way possible. But yeah, they don't have any Kells or anything that's been known of. But it is known, but it's more like highly suspected that the House of Exile has a Prime Servitor. And maybe an Archon to like talk with that Prime Servitor, but no Kells. No one really controls the house. So that's why I say it's more like a bunch of gangs and such working together. But as this happens, Deku sort of gets a call saying that a Baron is, and Barons and such aren't seen amongst the exiles. They aren't seen. The only time one's been seen, that as far as I know, is that time when like Cade found a female Baroness, but she died. So they like land on the moon and they clear out a zone for them to like meet up on. Deku first like gets in communications with this Baroness saying that their ether supplies and weapons are expected, and they got a bunch of glimmer for this, all this that they're bringing in. So as Deku sends several ships, because this is the first meeting, this could just be some cutthroats or some people who would actually honor their words. So as he lands down and sort of comes is the first one to appear out of the ship, the exiles see how massive he is, and they suspect he's actually a Kell. They're like, they sort of get an attitude. He's like, "Stay yourselves. I brought your supplies. Now, before we hand it over, the money must be counted. Or the glimmer must be counted." So as they like bring forward the craze, Deku walks over and and it just like comes off. It's like, He sifts through it a bit and ensures everything's there. Everything's there. He's like, good. He like sends a kratom. He's like, bring down the supplies. As like a few more ships come like start lowering the supplies. He's like, more business can be done later. Right now, why the moon? It's a place free. You fight the Hive daily. Yes, but we are free to do so. Others would kill us or oppress us. He's like, you have point. As he like takes notice of something, devils or winter? He says this, and the Kell's like, the Baroness is like, devils. It's like, run in with you devils. unpleasant bunch. But they still pay. As he says this, he's like, pleasure doing business. They got a lot of glimmer from the weapons and the ether, like the crate of ether tanks they brought, which some of the people on board were saying, was that really wise to do that? He's like, we have plenty of servitors and salvage. We can remake that up. And they're like, alright. So, as they get all of that done, he's like, see you later. As he goes back up to the ship, they're like, that could have gone badly. But as this happens, as the House of Exile is like preparing and getting everything to be prepped and move, several tomb ships come out of nowhere and just start laying down fire. Some of them are like, oh gosh, they're caught out in the open. Essentially, as the saying is, their pants down, and they're like running around trying to secure everything. They're like, some of them form a wall around, like over the chest of ether and weapons to like be prepared. Deku's like, he's like, and as the Baroness says, help, doesn't even ask for help. She's just standing there, like firing at the ships and trying to get the crates under. Deku's like, He gets on his ship. He's like, hold positions. Don't fire any ships. As he walks over, he like grabs his personal ship. And I'll say he actually upgraded one of the fighters from the Reef Queens, and he's like upgraded a lot. Gave it top of the line weapons, armor, strapped more armor to it, painted his colors and everything. So as this happens, Deku's like, radios down, coming to assist. Hold tight. As he just like, as he like launches his rockets, like taking out 2 of the 5 tomb ships. The tomb ships notice him and like raise up to like meet him. Like at this point, the House of Exile has been like fighting off several thrall acolytes and like a knight or 2. This Baroness and like a captain or 2 that are there are also going toe to toe with these knights. Deku's looking down and notices like, very skilled fighting hive. May recruit some later. Because he does look for like specialities, like I said with like Dobby. He like tries to teach, like I said, he's a militaristic kind of commander. He teaches his people with like specialities, like he has commonaries, people like reconnaissance and technology, like spikes and such. While Toga's like the information gatherer and such, and assassins, and Kirishima is the frontal assault, and Dobby's like dropping mortars and bombs. Twice and Mina don't really have a specialty. They're just like kind of like sergeants and commanders, similar like commanders under Kirishima, sort of. But I digress. And Deku's like the fleet commander as well as spaceship man. As he's like flying around drawing out these tomb ships, and tomb ships are slow. The only thing that they really got is their ability to teleport. So as one like teleports and like trying to get in front of him, Deku like dodges over and then like pulls back and just like as he like zips past, taking down another 2 using more of his rockets. He's like, rockets low. 6 out of 12 remaining. No, wait, 2. 8 out of 12 remaining. As he like flies back around and just does the final little strafe and launches another rocket, like taking down the last tomb ship. Now, as these like these Elixni have fallen back, sort of, to like get a better position while dragging the crates of supplies along. Deku gets his like mounted machine gun and goes just shredding through the knights and such that were like closing in, just and then the exiles finish off the rest. He's like, you owe me. And then retreats from there. As he continues forward with his continues forward with his operations. The Kell of Jaguars, and he's also gotten word that the Stags found their leader, and that they follow him, and that no infighting and such has occurred, and the like. So, Deku gets word that the House of Jaguar is actually looking to get some more stuff done, along with Winter and the Devils. Each house is trying to get stuff done, so he's like sends out like several like people to like go and see what they want. Like, what do you need? A house of devils wants some supplies delivered from point A to point B. The Winters want some Vex weakened, and sort of that way the Fallen can push on a certain area to grab it. And the Jaguars want, well, what they usually want, which is help fighting, like, with support. Deku sends out each, like, little group to figure out, and all go relatively great, because he's built up some nice, I believe it's rapport or whatever, reputation and fame among the houses, and they know he'll honor his deal, and they know and so, this is where it gets bad. Tanniks the Scarred hasn't been heard from in a while, but he doesn't really like how Deku's doing, because he's a very famous fallen mercenary. If another one starts getting some more gain, that's pretty bad. So as that happens, Tanniks, also I looked it up, Kells and such are like usually like 12 feet tall and such. So Deku's like 10 feet tall. And some of the other ones, he's like just big. So as I continue forward, they continue forward with their things. Tanniks hears about Deku and wonders, could he like sort of recruit him? Tanniks thinks about this and thinks possibility. And if you'll excuse me real quick, I gotta go deal. Hey guys, it's me again. Sorry for that interruption. Where I left off is that I believe I just said Tanniks was thinking to recruit Deku to his crew. Because he's heard the fame about Deku being this, like, great smuggler, I guess is the best way to describe it. He's a good smuggler, killer, and excellent commander. So he's thinking, he's either competition, or he can be recruited, in a way. So, Tanniks, sorta, after Deku sent one of his ships out after meeting with the Winter for a little bit, not Deku himself, but Tanniks, little catch and such, abducts this, like, crew run by the Vandals. He sort of sends a message to Deku saying to meet him on this location on this planet, and I'll say this planet is Venus. So as Deku's flying there with, like, his entire fleet, so is Tanniks. He's, like, on the ground with, like, the Vandals that are there. He's, like, waiting. And Deku and him are kind of similar size. So as Tanniks say, so, you're the Panther. And he's like, and you're the Scarred. He's like, oh, you know me? He's like, heard you from others. Cutthroat mercenary. What do you want? He's like, you are competition, or you could be subordinate. He's like, let them go. We talk this out. Captain to commander, mercenary to mercenary. As this is heard, Tanniks is like, as he like orders his like two Vandals and like the captain two captains that were with him to like unleash the two vandals. As the two vandals scurry over behind Deku and Toga and Kirishima, he's like, now, I do not serve anyone besides Kell of Lions. He's like, oh, I remember serving beneath my Kell. He took my two arms, so I built myself new ones and killed them. He's like, I heard that as well. Looks like you did more than just replace your two arms. You tried to become God? You are pale imitation. As this is said, Tanniks sort of gets aggressive and like kind of like looks like he's gonna rush at Deku. He's like, come, I challenge you in ways of old. I will kill you and take your catch. As Deku like tosses aside his weapons, they're doing this in like ancient, like hand-to-hand combat. Last one to drop dies. Tanniks and him are having this standoff like, you will die. Plain and simple. As they're like, and just start throwing hands. Deku like smashes him in the face while Tanniks like cuts him and bashes him right, left, double uppercut, double left, etc. Deku's throwing him around the same. But out of nowhere, out of nowhere, an entire like horde of Vex, and this is after like a prolonged exchange between the two. Deku's been able to he's actually beating Tanniks back at this point, but Tanniks has also gotten a few good hits as well. They're like somewhat even in a way. So Deku's just sort of fighting it out like, whoa, as it's just a back and forth. Deku actually ends up grabbing both of Tanniks' lower arms after he falls onto his back. Deku goes down, grabs his like two lower arms and rips off their mechanical arms. He's like, Tanniks is like, ah! As he screams in pain. Deku's about to like finish him off with his R2 arms. That's when the horde of goblins, hobgoblins, minotaurs, and like several hydra just peer out over and just Deku and his crew has to rush backwards. Tanniks sort of vows vengeance on Deku like, this isn't over. I'll see you killed. As he's like grabbing onto one of his missing arms, and Deku's like, I'm keeping these. As he rushes away, as he like picks back up his weapon, like his little shrapnel rifle. He only bigs out the Scorch cannon because it requires a lot to refuel and such. So he picks up his shrapnel rifle and just fires back on the Vex. Several of Deku's like little skiffs and such with forces come down and just. The one leading the ship right now is Kaminari, because he has some grasp on aerial combat, I would say. Deku like sort of has like had Kaminari, not Kaminari, but just somebody has command of the ship, probably Mina or someone, or even like I said, Kaminari. But Deku's down there with Toga and Kirishima, so yeah. So as they're like fighting this little battle, just Tanniks sort of calls in saying, one of Tanniks' crew just thinks he just got his lower arms ripped off by this random upstart. As his like Tanniks hears this, he like jumps on that guy and just and kills him. Everybody fears Tanniks. He just like backs, like a few of them like take a step back. He's like, no one will know this. Do I make myself clear? Now, I don't know if Tanniks is a big part of tradition or whatever, but Maybe he is, maybe he's not. But as I continue, Deku has sort of gotten some lines formed against the Vex that are surging out to meet him. He rushes forward and slams like some of the Minotaurs and Goblins. And his like Kaminari snipers and such are taking care of Hobgoblins, while Dobby's teams with like the explosives take down the Hydras. This little Vex onslaught is quickly dispatched of with Deku's expertise. So as they're like, some of them look him over and just think, Vex tech weapons could be useful. So as they're like, some of the weapons like the, I forget, like the, is it like Hammer Burst? I forget their weapons called, but they mainly use lasers. So Deku's crew take up some of these Vex weaponry and decide to take them and to give them to Kaminari's little group to like see what they can make of this Vex tech and see if they can like reshape it or reform it into upgrades and such. So as they do that, Borisov essentially has one, like, Odrinsov, by the order of Marasov, has essentially a crow following Deku's crew around at all times. Deku has noticed this, and Varix actually has taken notice of Deku as well. And like I said, since she essentially has a crow following him around, they know about the thing where the House of Stag essentially chose Deku to be their new kill, but he refused. So Varix also questions this why. So they really haven't had an answer yet. But then they also just saw how he went toe-to-toe with Tanniks the Scarred, which in itself is quite the feat. Because, like I said before, Tanniks killed his own Kel after he built himself some new arms. It is actually also the responsibility for several Guardian deaths. So, like I said, he killed Andalbrask and several other Guardians. And apparently, from the grapevine, Cade hears this. Somehow, like, maybe Marasov let something slip, see what Cade will do, or maybe one of Ikura's hidden reports this. Nobody really knows. But Cade hears this and he's like, Tanniks challenged him. That is something. So Cade kinda contacts Deku. He's like, hey, you. Hey, yeah. He's like, Deku's like, Cade. Hunter Vanguard. He's like, yeah. I heard you have some of Tanniks the Scarred's arms. He's like, yes. Why? He's like, could I have one? He's like, ooh, sure. He's like, don't worry. I'll get some. He's like, I can get some things to you. He's like, I got some weapons and such, but get me one of those and I'll owe you a favor, which is something I always pay back as my debt. And someone, like Ikura from across the room, says, no he doesn't. He's like, shut up, Ikura. He's like, very well, Cade. Tell me where to drop. He's like, here, I'll meet you on this side of the wall. And as this happens, Cade's like, well, I gotta go out for a bit, stretch my legs, you know? Zavala didn't hear that. He's like, Cade, you're supposed to be here. He's like, I've been cooped up in here for days. I gotta go take some fresh air. It's the one thing I get to do. So as Zavala's like, Cade, he's like, bye. Ikura's like, So as Cade, like, jumps in his, like, little ship to, like, blast off for a bit, Zavala hears, he's like, oh, Cade, where's he going? He's probably going to his favorite spot. But then they notice, like, hang on a second. One of the sensors is down. Maybe he's going to check it out. He's like, Cade, going to check out that down sensor? He's like, yeah. I saw it real quick and also thought of it as an excuse to go see what's up. He's like, alright. Keep it safe. Shaxx says, "I'll send some of my frames just in case." He's like, "You don't think I can handle myself?" He's like, "I think you'll bring in a lot more trouble." So Shaxx does still send, like, he actually goes himself, because he, like, something's, not like something's wrong, but he's like, Cade could probably use some help. And I don't know if Shaxx is any good with tech, but I do know he's a caring person and such, despite the looks, who is, like, a giant even among Titans. As he, like, sees this, he just sees Cade fixing it before he fixes it completely, Deku, he sort of sees, like, the skiff that comes, sort of, like, comes into not low orbit, but, like, right above the wall, as Deku is, like, does, like, the landing. He's like, "Whoa, even bigger than last time, buddy." He's like, As he, like, Shaxx sees this, like, what the? As he, like, sorry, throat's kind of dry. As he just sort of ponders this, then he just sees, as Deku pulls on from the back of his arm, the arm of Tanniks just... He's like, oh. Because I'll say he knows about how Andelbrask died. He's like, did he kill Tanniks? As this happens, one of Deku's, like... Deku had, like, Toga go personally to ensure everything was okay. As she sneaks up and, like, grabs Shaxx and, like, throws him. He's like, "What the... Ow. Cade, what is this?" As, like, Toga rushes forward with her sabers at the ready. Shaxx, like, gets ready by, like, prepping his fist. He's like, "You wanna go?" Cade's like, whoa, ease up there. Deku, what's the deal here? He's like, "Could be dangerous. Never know. Always ensure I'm protected." And I'll say he actually didn't know Toga was coming. Toga's still kind of skeptical about the Guardians. "Toga, I told you to wait on ship." He's like, "I know you worry. Don't defy my orders again." As he says this, Toga just puts down her saber and is like, "Yes." As she, like, walks backward towards him, he just, like, sticks out his hand, like, "Thanks for worrying about me, though." She, like, just, like, She, like, sort of grunts and just walks past him. And he sort of chuckles and just says, "Tsundere." She's like, and just, like, rushes over and kicks him. He's like, "Darcy, Arsu." As he, like, shouts at her and he licks at her, she's like, "Darcy, Garciak." And they shout back and forth for a little bit. He's like, "Back at 10. You must be Lord Shaxx. Heard much about you from business." He's like, "Cade, weapons, glimmer, what do you offer?" He's like, wait." And he runs over and grabs this, like, sort of mortar set, I would say, that was freshly produced by, like, a new foundry. Like I said, I don't know if these future civilizations really incorporate the use of mortars and such. Because I barely hear them in, like, anything like Star Wars. I think I've heard them, like, once or twice in 40K. Halo. Like I said, you just don't really hear the use of mortars, which is quite weird, considering how excellent they are of military use. Portable artillery, that's much easier to port than giant like, anti-air guns, batteries, like, heavy armored batteries and such. You know the works. So Deku's like, "Ooh, what are these?" He's like, "They're top-of-the-line mortar sets, bud, with a bunch of mortars come along with it." He's like, "You do not disappoint, Cade 6. Here, take on. Toga, call some down." As another group just, like, come down, he's like, "Careful, very expensive, and highly explosive." And as he continues forward with this whole thing, he's like, "Goodbye, Cade, and bid you farewell, Lord Shaxx. Wonder if Crucible is as fun as they say it is. We watch it sometimes. Very entertaining. And he's like, thank you, thank you, Deku. Is that right? He's like, yes, Deku. Now come, Toga. We have gotten our reward. As they get back in the ship, Shaxx is like, Cade, the people you know are just plain out weird. He's like, you want to talk? You're best buds with Saladin. He's like, stop talking about that. Stop bringing him up. He's like, fine. But as that ends, Deku just sort of, as he goes to Dobby, he's like, you have new mortars. He's like, what? Because what they've been working with is old military hardware. So as they Dobby brings his mortar teams and explosive teams up, they flip open the cases. Dobby's like, wow. As he takes a look at these mortar sets, he's like, these are good. And also takes looks at the mortars that actually came with these. He's like, where? Get them. He's like, friend. As he simply says that, he's like, ah. And he still has one of the arms hung up in his trophy room. And how long has this been? 17 plus 18. 33. So, as Deku and them continue forward, I'll say another month or two passes. And right now, excuse me, sorry. I'll say now, the events of the main story take place. So Deku's one day not out and about, and just sees, he's out and about actually, just going past the wall with a crew. The ghost revives Deku, just not Deku, but I'll say Nana Shimura. She's like, what happening? And I'll say she's Titan. Yep, Titan. And as she revives her, he's like, Guardian, it's good to see you. She's like, what? What's happening? As he's like, we gotta go. Fallen there in the area. As Deku's just looking with his binoculars over a long period of distance. He's like, new Guardian. Unique. But then he takes notice, Devil's Approach. Archon. No, wait, not Archon. The Captain of Devils approaches. Kaminari. He says, Toga, send scout, send people, ensure they make it to place. Now as this is happening, she's rushing forward. The ghost is saying that they're doing the same thing, you gotta get power on, so be careful. As a fallen is about to jump, the ghost sees this, but before it shouts out, it's just pulled away and just expertly just taken down oh. As it looks up, it just sees Toga, and as it makes eye contact, it's just shh. As it's thrown down, they also set the gun there, because I don't believe for a second that gun there was there for centuries without being grabbed. So I say they set a weapon there. They're this will help her. Deku has been known. Some of the Guardians who have been resurrected between now and the time, they've been noticed that Deku has sort of helped them along in some way. Some Guardians report seeing this black and white, these fallen in black and white sort of shadowing newborn Guardians. sometimes even just straight up helping them in combat, or even just giving them weapons. Ghosts tend to freak out, but before like the Guardians have a chance to freak out, they're just sort of gone or just do something for them to get them shut up. So as Nana Shimura is just rushing through this, firing with the Kvastov, through just running back and forth, just running back and forth. Deku and like the Panther Shadows just sort of assist her from here and there. They don't do everything, but they do assist her. Now as Deku continues forward with this whole this whole operation, some of the devils, no, none of the devils take notice, but he does escort her to the thing. So they don't really do anything much aside from that, as well as every now and then, like when she might have gotten jumped on by like an entire, like I guess better say squad of devils, Deku's little shadows and such just intercepted them and like took down their numbers. That's how they were. That's how Nana Shimura was unimpeded by the fallen and such. So she's running across the field, taking shots and taking down several vandals and dregs. And Deku and them just sort of sees as she gets there and just like as they get the ship flying and then just blast out of there before the Archon, they're like, job is done. We go now. As they get back on their ship and just fly off on their ships, and just blast off. Now, this, should I end it now or continue forward? 30, 40, I'll continue for a little bit, I guess. As Deku and their crew just complete some more objectives, do some more things for the House of Winter, and more things for the Devils. He sort of not finds out, but just sort of helps them along. He still hears how the House of Devils is still trying to fight over who gets to be the new Kel, but no one has found anything yet. Nana Shimura ends up at the tower and gets like the information she needs. And Kay, the ghost sword, talks about how there was this weird fallen dressed in white and black. And as this is heard, Kay just sort of goes like, oh! As not Kay, but Zaval goes like, fallen in white and black, you say? And they're like, yes. Do you know him? She's like, yeah. Wait, is that why you like freaked out for a bit? It's like, yeah. You were about to get jumped on by a vandal, then this one in white and black just came up. It looked like a captain, but I don't know. It's like, Zaval's like, looks like you were saved by the Panther Shadow is what everyone else is referring to him as. They're still like feigning ignorance on the like they've kept this deal between Deku and the city like hush hush. And like I've said before, he does do operations like deliver weapons, ammo, explosive, escorting, and etc. He's also built up his reputation with that little, I guess, settlement or outpost is a better way to say it, on Venus. Now, as this continues forward, Deku is just sort of going back through the system. The House of Stag have grown to the sort of larger, so about like half strength of the Lions, and the Lions have grown to be almost a major house of their own that could oppose the Devils, especially with how disorganized they are. But I don't know if they're actually disorganized. I just know that they have problems. Deku, over the months, I believe, has, like I said, I think I said he had like 700, maybe 800 under his command. So, the House of Bull Lions have also lost some numbers. And Deku has promoted Kaminari Mina. He essentially, all of them are captains now. His like little band of merry men, I guess. And Tanniks has come for Deku a few more times. Like within like these few months. Like he's come after once or twice. Like more or less just sniping at him when he's completing deals. But I digress. Nana Shimura moves through the campaign as she would normally. She goes and kills... I forget what the Archon's name is, like Rivix or something. Rethix? I don't know. But she sort of executes this Archon. It's like, dang. They just continue forward with the plan. She gets the whole satellites aligned and everything. Gets that whole stuff done like within the week. Or month. I don't actually. You don't really know how long it takes them to complete the missions, but they continue forward, so. I could have just left Nana Shimura out of this. Just gone with, like, the Guardian. Your Guardian has woken up and is going through the campaign. Now, as I continue forward, actually, yeah, I'll just say Nana Shimura to complete the campaign as they would normally. But I continue forward. Sorry. Now, Deku has sort of been called upon by the Reef. Again. This time saying that they would actually hope, and if you guys didn't notice, I didn't say this, but Aries been aged up a bit. To be like, I don't know, 16? I don't know. I'm just thinking. Letting ideas flow at random. Cutting one short that I think just are dumb, or just don't make sense. This is probably one of them, but it's already been said, so. So she talks about how, Eri has finished her whole thing and is like ready to be retrieved, and that that the area has calmed down a bit, but they don't want to take any chances. Like what they saw like how the House of Winter had catches and such floating around, so he comes down with his fleet and comes in with his like little thing and gets Eri. He gets Eri. As Eri is taken, she's like, oh, it's been a while since we talked. He's like, indeed, little one. He still refers to her as little one or whatever because he's massive. And she's like, so how have you been? He's like, I've made great gains. Great gains for the house and such. How have you been? It's essentially just like, boring. This, that. This. Political, that. Strategy, that. Etc., etc. And as he drops her off, the queen still pays him, and not Tanniks, Varric sort of approaches him saying that haven't been able to ask, but why you refuse to be Kell of Stags? Could have remade house then and there. Why go through hard effort? He's like, you seem to be under the oppression. Oh, and Marasov's also there, and Eri just like, wait, what? You could have been a Kell? He's like, you seem under the impression I want to make house again. If house reforms and I'm leader, that is coincidence. I do not actively seek it. I am not worthy. As he says this, he's like, Marasov's like, why do you find yourself unworthy? Traditions. Not even that. No elder cipher. No prime servitor. Not even enough to be minor house. I do not find myself worthy. And to tear one's foundations away and place with my own does not sound good. And they're like, you do have a point. Most fallen houses wouldn't consider doing deals with the city and such. It's. It's like, no, they would not. So, I will continue on my own path. If house is reformed, it will be reformed. If not, it will remain in the dust. And as he bids Varix a farewell, bye to Eri, bye to Marasov, bye to Oldrinsov, and bye to Petrovenge, they get out of there. As usual. And they get their supplies and such that were promised to them. And that's that. I think I'm going to stop this series for a while after this part and continue on to What If Bell. This has gone on than a lot of my other, gone on longer, but it's gone on for a pretty long time, and I need some time to think. So, the next part will be What If Bell had the abilities from folklore, which if you don't know what that is, essentially you steal souls, well, not steal soul, well, you steal an enemy's soul, essentially, and then turn into a monster that'll fight on your behalf. If you guys want that, say yay or nay. If not, I'll do it. Whether you like it or not. Have a nice night, nice day, nice life.